The overwhelming sentiment online is that MrBeast's response is cooked. I mean, he listed a investigation that was done by himself, and now he has gotten on an interview that was also very much so feeling like it was led by himself. Now, that is zero disrespect to Oompaville, but I am going to be tearing apart the arguments that are made in MrBeast's 2.5-hour interview. During this video, I'm going to be switching back and forth between Oompaville's video, MrBeast's response. Go watch that if you have 2.5 hours. The MrBeast document that was provided that shows evidence from MrBeast's side. And on top of that, my own extensive notes. I have wasted 3 hours of my life just taking notes on this thing. With that being said, if you'd like to leave a like, that's awesome. If you don't like my opinion and you actually hate my research that I've done, comment about it. Let's talk about it. We can find some middle ground somewhere, or at least we can have a productive debate. Let's go ahead and start with the very first claim/question that Oompaville asked to MrBeast, which was CGI and faking content. Now, obviously, he's starting him out with a warm answer. This is basically a slam dunk for MrBeast. Obviously, CGI exists in MrBeast videos. But when you find the nuance, which is that MrBeast was faking a piece of a philanthropy video, MrBeast simply says that he cannot manage the entire process of videos. His editors made a mistake. He doesn't want to single them out, but they made a mistake, and he's going to try to learn from this and have separate checks and balances on the editors in the future. I understand this conclusion. This conclusion makes sense, but you definitely do need better countermeasures when dealing with anything that has to do with nonprofit, philanthropy, or anything that is basically publicity to make you look good. Now, I'm not saying that MrBeast is only doing philanthropy to make himself look good, but he has to be better about this, because if he doesn't, he is going to give off that impression. Personally, I don't like his response. I don't like that his editors made a mistake. He's going to fix it in the future. I would like to see action. That doesn't mean that it was a bad response. That doesn't mean that it was a good response. Next thing that we talked about was the illegal lotteries being faked. And I've talked about this multiple times as someone who bought in to the illegal lottery. I personally own a shirt that was allegedly a part of the illegal lottery. I own it. It was designed by TJ, Ty, and Carl. So I was not part of the fake signatures, but MrBeast's response to this alleged illegal lottery goes as followed. He feels it wasn't illegal, and he did disclose that it was a giveaway and you can enter for free. And he also offered refunds to people that bought the shirts. Now, he doesn't touch on the fake signage, but offering a refund does kind of cover his bases. With that being said, I went on and tried to get a return based off of the MrBeast doc. If you find it, you can find it right here, MrBeastRefunds.com. And if you click on this link, you will find that the first thing you are asked is for an order number. Now, if you're like me and you don't remember your order number from 5 years ago, you're probably not going to get a refund on anything. I tried multiple emails. I don't know what email I was using 5 years ago. I really don't know how good this is going to help you. With that being said, how else can he determine that you actually did order something? He really can't without an order number, and he can't without an email. So, yes, he is offering a refund, but no, it's not really going to impact people currently. The fact that he isn't willing to offer a refund for something that was 5 years ago does show a little bit of character, in my opinion, but also you can't really actually follow through with that. So I consider this a very middling response. The next thing that we talk about is him dealing with Dogpack. Dogpack 404, the person that originally accused him of all of these things. Now, that's not something to be taken lightly. Suing someone is not something to be taken lightly. This could ruin Dogpack's life forever. And his response to this was he will be suing Dogpack because it has costed him and his company lots of money. With that being said, he goes really into depth about how his employees who are responsible for families, he's had to let them go because of the loss of money of Dogpack. Well, with that being said, couldn't he have just taken a loss for a couple of months? That's why I considered that a little bit of a middling response. It does seem like he is trying to conjure some type of pity rather than saying, yes, I'm suing Dogpack. He did me harm. It just feels like he's going and making these excuses after the fact, which honestly, here's the thing. I don't want to see a family get not taken care of because some idiot made a YouTube video. And I do think at this point, Dogpack 404 is a non-reputable source and is doing this for personal gain. Like I've said before, just because he says no monetization doesn't mean he doesn't gain something out of this. 400,000 to 600,000 subscribers just from 3 videos that he made on Mr. Beast is a lot to gain. The next thing that he goes ahead and talks about is CoffeeZilla and the crypto solution / problem. And he touches on it at this point in the video, right around the 30 to 40 minute point, but he does also update it at the end if you are watching along with this video. And during this, he basically, Oompaville basically asks, did you manage your wallets? And Mr. Beast says, no, I had a fund manage my wallet, someone who knows a lot about crypto. Hence why his wallet at the time was named Wu-Tang, which is a band that Mr. Beast is way too young to even listen to. And me as well. I also don't know who Wu-Tang actually is. I see it all the time, but I don't know who it is. The next thing he asks is, well, what about when you talked about Gary Vee on the Impulsive podcast and you buying CryptoPunks? Which, again, is something where Mr. Beast very clearly did have some control of his wallets. With that being said, I will say funds are 100% a thing in stocks, and it's not that unbelievable that people are paying online for crypto fund managers to go and invest in crypto for them. If someone has shown, I can invest in crypto, and someone is willing to pay them to invest in crypto, that's free money for them. They make money based off the gains. They make money based off of Mr. Beast, and they don't have to risk any of their own personal money. That is a win-win there. With that being said, also, I think Mr. Beast had much more control of this crypto wallet than he likes to admit. On top of that, he gets extremely nervous in certain parts when, as Oompaville is questioning him. It's just a bit of a weird situation where I think Mr. Beast made a mistake here, and he's, instead of owning up to it because it would cost him sponsors, he instead is trying to shift blame onto fund managers and try to just get out of it entirely, which honestly, it makes sense. Playing defensively here, I would do the same damn thing. I would sit here and, say, oh, well, there was actually more things at play, Obviously, well, okay, I'm saying I would. If I had little to no morals, I would not do this to begin with. I wouldn't scam somebody. I don't really care about money. I just need enough for my family to survive, and I'm good. But with that being said, Mr. Beast, maybe not a good little idea here. Maybe not the perfect thing to do. And I think you made a mistake. You accidentally pump and dumped. You accidentally bought into these coins that actually didn't benefit other people, didn't necessarily do it to your own audience because they are 12, but you did take a section of money from somebody else's audience. Now we got to talk about the next thing, which is Mr. Beast being the Antichrist. Obviously, he is not the Antichrist. That is something that I feel like is very obvious. I would never think that Mr. Beast is the Antichrist. There's a lot of reasons that I've seen people say he's the Antichrist. Beast 6,000, which is exactly what Oompaville points out. And in this, I didn't really take a note on this because Mr. Beast said, no, I'm not the Antichrist. There's not really evidence you can prove that you're not the Antichrist. But with that being said, Mr. Beast takes this time to diss More Pegasus. If you don't know who More Pegasus is, he is a creator that's been on the internet for a while now, making basically, I think he made roughly 30 videos on Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, or KSI in the past 3 months. And it's gotten ridiculous. It has gotten ridiculous. I've made a couple videos on this situation because I feel the need to update. And I think that's what he believes he's doing as well. But it did get to a point with More Pegasus that I didn't watch him anymore. But Mr. Beast personally calls him out. He's like, oh, More Pegasus, this is like gonna put devil emoji on me. Like, the last time I checked, More Pegasus made a post that was saying how you were actually a decent guy, Mr. Beast, how you were on a phone call with him, how you wanted him to fly to the United States, but you're willing to fly to Texas to have an interview with Oompaville by itself. Doesn't make much sense. It does seem like Mr. Beast is trying to not put More Pegasus on some type of pedestal, considering he is very much so anti-Mr. Beast. But I really just didn't like that snide comment. The next thing he talks about is Mr. Beast basically only doing philanthropy because it's on camera, which is a common thing that he has been accused of. With that being said, I think this is one of the biggest accusations that has the least evidence. I mean, here's the thing. You can't prove your intentions when you are on the internet. It is almost impossible to prove your intentions. You can have actions, but it's so hard to prove positive intentions. Nearly impossible, I would say. And in this case, Mr. Beast has done some good. He has at least done some good. So I would argue that because there is good being done, I don't care what Mr. Beast's intentions are, as long as the good gets done. And I think that was honestly a positive remark that was made by Mr. Beast when he basically said, how do I prove my intentions? I can't. The next thing we talked about, or that Oompaville and Mr. Beast talked about, was how Mr. Beast was ethically sourcing his cocoa for his chocolate bars. Now, if you don't know about the chocolate industry and you're like me, apparently there's a lot of child labor and slavery that goes on in producing chocolate bars. That's not a fun thing to talk about. I don't like that. I don't like talking about it. It literally sends chills down my spine when I think about a child working in any capacity for low pay. That's wrong. That is wrong. And in this case, Mr. Beast has been shown to go to Ghana, where his cocoa is derived from, and actually work the farms, or at least check up on the farms. I don't believe that Mr. Beast is purposefully trying to cause child labor. Now, whether that's for his own sake or it's for someone else and you looking at his bars and buying them instead of the child-sourced ones, I think Mr. Beast is trying to do his best. And honestly, I think that was the best response that he had in the entire thing is, I've been to Ghana, I've been to the fields. I mean, there's pictures and photo evidence of him going to Ghana and checking up on his cocoa plants. I really don't know how else you can refute that. He has gone there. And honestly, I think that was, again, his best response in the entire video. The next thing we're going to talk about is the Lunchley mold allegations, which now we're probably about at the half to 2/3 point of the video. And he's talking about Lunchley and mold and lead. So Mr. Beast basically says, once it leaves the factory, it's good. And Oompaville kind of just talks circles around Mr. Beast. Instead of asking him questions, he gives him answers, which I don't necessarily love. I don't think Oompaville, let's just be honest. Oompaville is not a interviewer. He's not trying to set up Mr. Beast. He is almost spoon-feeding him answers in certain scenarios. And so he says, it's impossible to determine that. I've done that with my own thing. Like I like literally own a company named Sour Boys that creates sour candy and ropes and things. So you can't determine that lead and mold are on their candy or your Lunchables, and gives him reasons why. With that being said, there is a little bit of proof that has been addressed from Rosanna Pansino that was specifically talking about how the packaging has a fault in it where one of the corners peaks up very easily, which would be on the side of Lunchley. I understand. Once it's out of the factory, you can't control it, but you can control your packaging and make it mold proof. You can try your best to take those criticisms and make it better. And Mr. Beast kind of does say that. He kind of just says almost that exact thing. Personally, if you fix the price on Lunchley and you do address the clear packaging issues, it's a good product. It's a fine product. It's marginally better than Lunchables. If you're trying to eat healthy, don't get Lunchables. Don't get Lunchley. Go get some chicken and cook that chicken. I mean, that's the honest truth. The next thing they talk about is Delaware. Delaware is the registered SO, and basically Mr. Beast didn't do a background check on him before. What Mr. Beast says is that he fired Delaware as soon as he found out that he was an RSO. He also says that his mother would not have allowed Mr. Beast to hire an RSO as a teenager if she knew that he was an RSO. That's pretty clear-cut evidence. Mr. Beast also notes a specific 10 out of 12 YouTubers that he called after hearing that this was a controversy do not check backgrounds. Oompaville says, I personally check backgrounds. And then Mr. Beast, kind of in a condescending manner, says, did you check this guy? And then Oompaville says, that's my best friend. No, I didn't. Thus giving him a out of that question. Yes, when you are a small-scale company with 10 employees, it is almost impossible to source the greatest employees. There's a lot of volatility when you are a startup. There's a ton of it. And so finding employees with a perfectly clean, squeaky clean record is just not something that is very possible. Oompaville is on a small scale. Mr. Beast is on a large scale. People are acting as if Mr. Beast was on this large scale and still not doing background checks, which is untrue. Ultimately, with the Delaware situation, though, it was a mistake. You can tell that it was a mistake. He got rid of that person. The person is not currently on his team. And that's all there is to it. One thing I wish Oompaville would have touched up on while they were on this topic was the LaCoya Hill situation. Now, we do know that the James Warren situation with Dogpack 404 was very clearly something that was not true. But the LaCoya Hill situation, I have not seen evidence to support or deny the fact that he did do something wrong to an employee under Mr. Beast. Continuing, I'd like to talk about the Jake Weddle situation. Now, Mr. Beast's response to the Jake Weddle situation, in which Jake Weddle was put into a room with lights on for 100 days, was that multiple people can do the same things and experience things differently. So Mr. Beast ensures that a psychiatrist checks up on them regularly so that he can find out if they are doing good or doing poorly. In the case of Jake Weddle, he was doing poorly at about the halfway point, and so they turned the lights off, pulled him out. Ultimately, I think that a lot of people look at this situation on Mr. Beast's side and think, oh, well, it's voluntary, so suck it up. It's easy to say that, it's easy. That's so easy to sleep with the lights on. What I would like to say is there are people that are just weaker. There are straight up just people that are weaker. Now, do I think Mr. Beast had necessarily any large wrongdoing in this situation? Not necessarily. He paid the guy the whole amount. He ended up like the whole amount, saying that he paid him the whole 100,000 rather than, the 50K that he would have gotten. He paid him out entirely, and he didn't even finish the challenge. Mr. Beast did not do the wrong thing in this situation. Jake Weddle did not necessarily do the wrong thing in this situation. He was talking about an experience. I believe Jake Weddle has been manipulated by Dogpack in this scenario because he was just doing an interview talking about a clearly traumatic situation in his life that a psychiatrist had to pull the plug on, and Dogpack seemingly made it look like a bad deal. The next thing they talk about is Shadman. Now, Mr. Beast cannot really show evidence that he did or didn't know who Shadman was, but what he did say was that during the time where Shadman's art was hung on his wall, Shadman being a adult animation specialist, I guess, and just all-around creep because he draws children as animations in not-so-good positions. He says that it was normal for them to have anime posters on the walls, stuff that's, a little bit weird, a little bit edgier. And so when he saw that, he didn't really second guess it. Now, my personal thought was someone who sits down and watches analytics all the time and studies YouTube all the time would probably have thought twice about a poster being included on their film. Now, We cannot prove that he did or didn't know what Shadman was doing and what art that was. And ultimately, I don't think Mr. Beast necessarily did anything extremely wrong as a 19-year-old at the time other than just make a mistake. Does this mean Mr. Beast is a bad guy and he likes that type of stuff? No. Does this mean Ava Chris Tyson is a bad person and they like that type of stuff? Absolutely. They are not a good person at this point. You can't tell me that Ava Chris Tyson is a great person or had a perfectly squeaky clean record. There's multiple things that we could talk about that, and we have talked about that. The next thing, which is the last topic before Mr. Beast's closing statements, was the Mr. Beast intervention on Dogpack. And what I mean by this is there's multiple times in the video in which Mr. Beast says, I reached out to big YouTubers and I tried to give them evidence while this Dogpack stuff was going on, and none of them wanted to cover it. Oh, poor me. And Oompaville says, yo, I'm like one of the biggest commentary channels. Why didn't you give me that evidence? You're clearly okay with coming on a freaking podcast length interview. Why didn't you give me any of that information? And Mr. Beast gets very shaky and he says, I didn't know why I didn't give you that stuff. I don't know why I didn't give you that stuff. I don't think that's an acceptable answer. The reason why I don't think that's an acceptable answer is because what do you mean he didn't give you any of that? He definitely could have given Oompaville all of that evidence. The issue in this is that the third-party investigation story doesn't align with the Oompaville story. And what I mean by that is I have to take you in here. So the third-party investigation that Mr. Beast paid Quinn Emanuel, a popular prosecuting attorney, to do on himself didn't allow Mr. Beast to speak publicly about any of the allegations until the investigation was over. So we have on one hand Mr. Beast saying, I can't talk about anything. We have on another hand Mr. Beast saying, I was telling big creators. Now, one of these is a lie. One of those is a lie. Because you couldn't talk publicly, but you could talk publicly to other creators and let them speak for you. That doesn't really make sense. Also, if he was sending it to all these big creators, I can't imagine that at least one of them did not quite simply say, oh, I'll cover this. This is game changing. I don't think that he sent anything to big creators. I do believe that at some point he did say something to a creator, but I don't think it is all big creators like he said. Now, does that make him a bad person? No. But does that mean he's stretching the truth? Yes, it does. But like all people, when they have their backs against the wall, they are willing to do a lot of things. Now, the last closing statements from Mr. Beast at the very end of this video, well, the very end before the extra piece, is that Mr. Beast is going to learn from his mistakes and do better next time. I believe that every single person on the entire planet is able to be redeemed. If I didn't believe that, then I wouldn't be a very good Christian, would I? We're going to go ahead and end off this video with a Bible verse. The name of the Lord is a fortified tower. The righteous run to it and are safe. If you'd like to talk about Jesus ever, reach out to me in my public Discord. Everybody have a blessed day and share this verse with somebody you love.